taking the time to watch this Astranti video. I'm here to tell you about a really exciting new product that we're going to be bringing to you, and it is our E2 objective test videos. So I'm going to be talking you through exactly what that is, how it might be helpful, and giving you a little bit of a sneak peek at what the product has. So first, let's start with exactly what you'll get from our objective test videos. There's going to be 100 questions that will give you a full coverage of every chapter of our E2 study text and every area of the E2 syllabus that you'll need for your exam. Our questions are based on real representative task statements, and they are organised in a way that makes them as close as possible to the real questions you'll be taking on exam day, so you can apply everything you learn through this product to your real examination. Next, I'd like to take you through some tips that I have gained from creating these E2 objective test videos for you. So, in my experience, here are 3 things that I think will help you with your objective test video studies and with actual exam questions. The first thing to note about E2 is that it's a bit different from E1 in the sense that E1 was all about remembering the theories and terms from your studies and just recalling them and putting them in the right places in the exam. You're going to have to go to a little bit of a next level with E2, because what you'll need to do here is understand as well as analyse and apply the theory and knowledge that you've gained from studying. So my first tip is all about using these analysis skills and analysing the details of the scenario that's given to you. You may come across many different scenarios of theories and examples in your exam questions, and you'll need to be able to pick out details that will lead you to the correct answer. The next tip follows on from this in the sense that you're going to be applying the knowledge and theory you have, and often you'll have to engage a little bit of a logical brain to do that. You won't always be given the exact details you'll need to figure out where the right answer is, and it might mean that you have to think, how would I apply this in the real world, in the real workplace, to rule out any answers that don't seem to make a lot of rational sense? Our third tip is beware of ambiguity. Because you are having to apply your knowledge and analyse it in a little bit more detail, there may be wording or information in the scenarios and options that you're given in your question that are designed to mislead you. So it's really important that you read everything carefully, try and apply it in the most rational and reasonable way, and avoid anything that looks like it's deliberately designed to confuse. So now we've covered my 3 top tips for your E2 objective test videos, I'd like to give you an example question just to show you how these tips will help you with your studies. So as you can see, we're not just having to remember and understand something based on our syllabus reference this time, we're having to actually determine the impact of our knowledge that we got from our E2 study. So let's scroll down so we can see all of this question because it's quite large, thanks to a very, very detailed scenario. So obviously we're going to have to analyse the details of the scenario because it will probably help us to decide which of our options is the correct one. So let's have a read. We have Georgina who works for company KH, and we've noticed that Georgina was late several times in March without any justifiable reason, and this affected the department's productivity. It's early days yet, but we've made lots of highlights and notes because we think this might be applicable later on. We know that Georgina's supervisor asked her to improve her timekeeping, but she didn't manage to do this. She carried on being late. And in fact, she was late 3 more times before she got a verbal warning. And that meant that after that, her supervisor started to closely monitor Georgina for several months to make sure she would arrive on time. We also know that Georgina knows what the verbal warning means because it's in the employee handbook, and she's argued that she didn't think it applied to her as another supervisor would always arrive late and not be punished. And then we have our requirement line after that big scenario. Why might the disciplinary procedure applied in this instance have failed to improve the department's productivity? So we have plenty of details from our scenario. We know that we have a disciplinary procedure in place. We had a verbal warning and then some close monitoring. And we have maybe some stuff in the employee handbook that's supposed to help people avoid disciplinary procedures in the first place. and we need to find out why it failed to improve the department's productivity. So we've analysed our scenario and requirement line first off, and we found lots of details that will help us with ruling out our 4 options. Now we can go through these options and see what we can apply from this and from the knowledge we have from the E2 syllabus to get us closer to that correct answer. So, was the procedure immediate? Well, even without knowing the specifics of a disciplinary procedure model, we can kind of assume logically that we're talking about how soon the disciplinary procedure was applied. And it seems like from our first part of our scenario, this was a fairly immediate result. It happened several times, and then the supervisor immediately asked Georgina to improve her timekeeping. They then took it to a next stage of verbal warning when it continued 3 more times. So it seems like the supervisor was fairly up to date on the progress Georgina was having with her disciplinary procedure. So without using our logic, we can probably rule this out as a reason that the disciplinary procedure failed. What about the next one? The procedure was not consistent. Well, this is somewhere where we need to beware of ambiguity, because we have lots of ambiguity in this second paragraph. We know that the rules of being late are stated in an employee handbook, and that does imply that there is a consistent rule for everyone. However, we know that Georgina said that this doesn't seem to apply to everyone in practice, because there is a supervisor who arrives late all the time and doesn't get punished. So there's some conflicting statements here, and as we think logically, even though it's stated in the handbook, it's not being put into practice. It seems very likely that the procedure is not consistent, and that would be a reason it failed. So that seems like it probably is our correct answer. Now, in your general practice, it would be a good rule to go through your other options to check you've definitely got the right answer. But we'll stop here because that has perfectly represented the 3 tips you have. You need to pick out the details of a scenario so that you can rule out some answers. You'll need to think logically about the implications of some of the things that happen in the scenarios, and you'll need to watch out for statements and details that might conflict or cause confusion or ambiguity. So there we have our sneak peek at a question from our E2 objective test videos. Now, the full 13 chapter set for E2 is already available on the website. And actually, if you're interested in getting a bit more of a feel for what this product means and how it can help you, we've put the first 3 chapters up online, available for everyone for free. And you can find all of this and more details at our website, www.astranti.com. Again, thank you for taking the time to listen to me talk about this great new product. I hope it helps with the rest of your CIMA studies.